you. Bye.
And welcome back to another episode of CarMyCast. I'm your host today, Skylar Anderton. Didn't have to step out today. He had some stuff to deal with at Gotsy's. And so today I have got two people from SIC that want to come and promote the SIC Outfitters and Wildlife Program. I've got Karen Weiss. She is the VP of Academic Affairs. And I've got Jordan Hammersley, and he is an instructor. And then you said you were the coach of...
I'm the head trap shooting coach.
Okay, cool. So let's just go right into it. So what is like the Outfitters and Wildlife Program?
Okay, so this is a program that gets students ready to become an outfitting guide. And that has a lot of connotations. So there's hunting, fishing, and general adventure guides. This is a huge business now. And then as part of my curriculum, I have added quite a bit of wildlife science, wildlife biology, and then just real world business skills for students wishing to go into this type of work. It's new to the area, but this business is booming right now. This is a huge industry. There's close to $100 billion put into the American economy each year by hunting and fishing and adventure companies. And so we're hoping to get students ready to work in this type of field. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. I would say that over 50% of my students wish to become a fish and game warden. And so we concentrate quite a bit on the legal regulations. Those are different in all 50 states. And so we try to add in some curriculum from the surrounding states. And also I bring a lot of my Western experience to the table from Colorado, Montana, Idaho, places like that.
Yeah. So for people out there, including me, what is like the definition of a outfitter itself? So like what is that, you know?
So outfitters handle everything from the permits that you need to do what you're going to do, whether that's a fishing license or a big game permit. And then they provide the equipment for these adventures. So right now, this time of the year, kayaking, canoeing, and rafting are really super popular. And then they often pair with fishing trips and camping trips, things like that, that you need a lot of different types of permits. Depends on if you are on state property, flowing through private property, or if you're on federal managed land. And so they take care of all the equipment where all you need to do is book your trip. And then the outfitter takes care of the rest. Okay. All the equipment, all the safety equipment that you need, anything that you might need for that specific adventure. And then as companies have grown, they've branched out, including myself, that started out just hunting and then moved into a broader world of ecotourism, which is the up and coming outfitter world.
Okay.
So people pay these guides basically to do that for them, take them on either independently or through a company.
Okay.
Yeah. So
how long have you guys had this program at SIC?
This has been the first year.
Yeah, this was the first year. We did a lot of research about the year before. Of course, hired faculty. We interviewed 3 or 4 people. Jordan came to us. He had a lot of great experience, and he'll talk about that here in a little bit. But he's from the area. And he just had that knowledge that we were looking for and that experience in firsthand. So he was a good fit for our program. So we've launched it this past year. We had 12 students enrolled. They've stuck with us. Like I said, we're trying to, right now it's a certificate program. It's a 1-year, 2-semester program. We are working, we have a lot of agency. We have to get our programs approved by the state, and they also have to be approved by what's our accrediting agency, which is called the Higher Learning Commission. So, and they approve any new programs that might be out of the scope of what we normally would offer. So we've received state approval for our 2-year program. We're just waiting now to get approval from the Higher Learning Commission for our 2-year program. So hopefully in the next few months, we'll be able to announce that we can now offer a 2-year program.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have our expectations for the program. We were hoping to get at least 10. So to start it out, but we were happy that we were able to get 12, but that was a lot of road time and a lot of, just going in recruitment on Jordan's part to recruit these students. And so since it's a regional program, what our state calls a regional program, we can recruit outside of our district.
Oh, okay.
In the state of Illinois, there's 48 community colleges. Okay. So we all have programs that are similar, but we also have programs that are unique to us. Yeah. So if you get regional approval through the state, that means that you can go outside your district to recruit students. Okay. And you're not basically going into anybody's territory to poach students, so to speak.
So is this a program that's offered anywhere around here? I mean,
not around here. There are other states that offer similar programs, but not in our area. No.
Yeah.
So
I believe the closest similar program is in Pratt, Kansas.
Oh, really? Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, and we looked at their curriculum. Of course, we did a lot of research and looked at curricula around the states, but and knowing that we're right up against the Shawnee National Forest, it just seemed logical that we needed to have something to promote that industry, that area.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's kind of where we came in, and George's done a good job this past year of promoting. He still does recruiting on the side, in addition to being a coach and teaching. Wow. So it's taken a lot of his time, but he's done a good job.
Yeah.
And we're proud of it. We're proud of the program, which is why we wanted to come in and promote it, because I'm sure there's people out there that don't know that we offer this program.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that I feel like is a perfect fit for this area too. I mean, it's kind of surprising that there's not a program like that closer, so
you would
I feel like you guys caught fire there.
Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So she was talking about your backstory. So like what kind of involved you into getting into stuff like this?
So I knew from a young age I wanted to work with animals, but I wasn't quite sure what that meant. But once I got into university, began to study biology, wildlife biology, and zoology. And then once I'd graduated, I got my career start with the Department of Natural Resources doing bat research. Traveling around, we were tagging female endangered species, mainly Indiana bats in this area, gray bats, and then doing population studies, disease studies, things like that. And I loved it. I was not made to be in an office 5 or 6 days a week. And so I was getting paid to travel and also be out in the woods, which I loved. I knew I wanted to travel, but I also didn't have any money. And so I ended up with a job
that travels for you.
That gave me both. And then as time went on, I switched over different projects. I was part of the bobcat reintroductions here in Illinois, the otter reintroductions. And it just kind of turned into project after project. And then I started going abroad. And then as my career has turned, once I knew I wanted to start outfitting, which I got my start down in Pope County, right near the Shawnee Forest, just doing simple whitetail deer and turkey hunts. But as that spread, I knew, I really would like to be in Colorado. Really like the mountains, so made the move, began to do more outfitting. And then I had been doing some work in Kenya, which is I was in the Aberdare National Preserve doing work on the Rhino Ark project. And it was mesmerizing to me to see so many people that thought these large charismatic megafauna were worth more dead than alive. And so me coming in as a big game hunter realized, wow, there is a gap here for ecotourism. And as time went on, I began to train their defense forces for anti-poaching. They really needed the hunter's perspective. And then the Kenyan Defense Force said, hey, I want you to go to the Kama Rhino Sanctuary in Botswana, train some of them. Oh, absolutely. I wanted to travel.
Yeah.
I was getting to see cool animals every day, getting to drive a Jeep around the bush and study. And then that just turned into a flourish of going to different places, train different agencies. I've been all over Southern Africa, Eastern Africa. One of the coolest places I went was the Kaziringa National Preserve. That's in northern India. And it was basically monitoring the tigers that had a GPS collar on them, making sure that they weren't, any disease wasn't spreading through their population, and then training their defense force to watch out for poaching. Poaching is still a huge deal for these endangered species. But for me, as the employee, was getting paid to travel.
Yeah.
And gaining experience. And it was really, really, really cool. And that far north in India, you're kind of on the southwestern end of the Himalayas. So you're in the jungle, but overhead, Himalayan mountains.
Wow.
And so it was a really unique experience. And I knew then I never want to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I would like to eventually teach this. And Southeastern realized the demand for such a program, and it's been a perfect fit. Our students are loving it.
Oh, I bet.
And I know there's a lot out there that would love this, that would love to be a fish and game warden or a hunting guide or just study animals. We do discuss hunting a lot, but I intend to have students that are going on in zoology or zookeeping, and it's a perfect fit. It really is to be able to study wildlife science at the freshman year rather than wait till your junior or senior year in university.
Yeah.
Is a huge deal for these communities. It is such an affordable place to go to school. And we've had a lot of success. It's been popular. My students are really loving it. And we utilize the Shawnee Forest almost every day, or at least a few times a week. We get to learn in the classroom in the lab. And then when we do our projects, we'll go on a trip as a group. And it's been great. Students love it.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I wish there would have been something like this when I was a young student.
Oh, me too, because I feel like I probably would have jumped on that.
Yeah,
too.
it's been great. It has been absolutely great. And like Dr. Weiss said, this is regional. So we've got students coming from all over Southern Illinois and including from out of state to study at Southeastern. So they're getting a great experience. And I primarily I grew up in El Dorado and have been all over the Shawnee my whole life. But some of my students, one in particular, come from Tennessee. She had never been to Garden of the Gods.
Yeah.
She didn't grow up here. And so when we went, I teach Oak Hickory succession, part of the little bit of a forestry section, and teach about the species that live in those old growth forests. Well, when I found out she'd never been to the Garden of the Gods, I was just shocked. Like, oh, wow, you are going to enjoy this trip. And it was great. She had a good time. She had a good time.
I lived in Nashville, Tennessee for 6 years, and I had some buddies come home with me, and they'd never been to the Garden of the Gods or anything. I took them out there, and they were just shocked because as you come into Illinois, all you see is corn, and you don't think that this is just it's out of nowhere. It just pops up. You're like, oh, wow.
Hey, Jordan, describe what ecotourism is, because that's a term that people hear, but they don't know what it is.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't familiar. So ecotourism is a conglomeration of people going to just look at nature, look at the wildlife species that live in areas, and it's a booming business. And it's been great internationally because there's a lot of countries that just their gross domestic products are oil or iron ore, things like that. Now they've realized, oh, wow, people want to come and see these rhinos or elephants or cheetahs or birds. One of the best trips that I outfitted was a man. His granddaughter was a huge bird watcher. And there's an annual bird competition for people that travel around the world and kind of count birds. He did not want her to go alone.
Mm-hmm.
He contacted and said, I know you had done some hunts down in Patagonia. Beavers have been accidentally introduced in Patagonia and they're wreaking havoc on the ecosystem. So I had done some work down there, and he knew that and said, I would like you to escort my granddaughter because I'm not comfortable with her going South America alone. Okay. Absolutely. I'll take her. Turned into one of the best trips I'd ever been on. And then that kind of grew, word spread. And then the next summer it was, hey, she wants to go back, but she's got 6 friends with her. Can you take all of them? Absolutely, I can. Yeah. Absolutely beautiful country, plenty of birds. But me as an outfitter turned back into the biologist. So we were having to identify the birds based on their taxonomical family. So they were accurately listing the species they had seen, and word spread. And I'm one of millions of companies and outfitters that had done trips like this. And it's pumping money into areas that normally wouldn't get that. And I know that people don't realize that Southern Illinois gets a lot of ecotourism, but we do.
Yeah.
Pop into Garden of the Gods sometime and look at where the license plates are from. Mm-hmm. Almost always it isn't Illinois. It's Missouri, Indiana, Kentucky. That is ecotourism. They're coming to look at nature.
Yeah.
In the springtime, people come to pick morel mushrooms, or maybe they hunt turkeys.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that do like whitetail hunts too.
Oh, absolutely. Right here in White County, there is quite a bit of that going on. I spoke with one man that outfits hunts. He's got 85 clients that come in. And I asked, are any of them from the area? He said, mostly they're not.
Yeah.
You know, people that around here hunt on grandpa's land or this or that. Mm-hmm. And this is a huge business. These people need somewhere to stay. They need a restaurant to eat at. They need gasoline for their vehicles. They pop into Walmart or Rural King and, hey, I left my binoculars at home, or I left this at home. It's great for our economy.
Yeah, definitely.
Outfitting has been great for areas that are very rural, that don't have a lot of like factory type work. Mm-hmm. And it has been great internationally, not just right here in Southern Illinois, but countrywide and internationally. It's been great. And I've leaned more towards the conservation side as of the past probably 7 years. And I love it. I still get to go on nice trips. Of course, COVID travel restrictions, you know, I followed CDC guidelines. So that kind of hurt this year, but for the most part, things are getting back to normal and people are going on trips again. And there will be a boom in this industry because flights will be cheaper.
Oh yeah. Well, and people have been stuck inside for a year too. So they're going to be one outside.
And so there'll be a lot of people looking to hike and camp and do a little fishing. When families go on trips, people like different things.
Oh yeah.
Maybe mom and dad go kayaking while the kids fish.
Yeah.
Or camp or hike. And so it's just a conglomeration industry that what it's good for one is good for all.
Yeah.
And
so if you go to say an area or a country that you've never been to before, if you've never been to South America, do you do your own research beforehand?
I do. It generally
to make sure that you're in areas that maybe are not as dangerous.
Yeah, I do. I do. It takes, for an international trip, it takes 1 year of planning. So I book my trips 1 year out to get all my permitting in. I go deep into the science. I study weather patterns for the past 10 years. I study drought versus wildfire. I study population migrations. Some species have true migrations, meaning they leave one area, their natal birth, and move to another. I study all that. And then I study just local customs and culture and languages. And I've never had any problems at all.
So when you go on a trip like that, when you put all that planning in, how long do you normally stay?
Anywhere from 1 week to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
My first trip to Kenya was supposed to be 1 week. I stayed a year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
My house in Kenya, and I use the term house loosely, it was more like a bush camp, but I loved it. But from where my shower was, I could see out over the plains where the floodplains were. And I took one picture from a tripod every day for that year.
Oh, that's cool.
And you can see the true savanna and prairie burn occasionally and then sprout back. And then you can see the large antelope migrations. And it got to the point where I didn't want to leave. But,
yeah,
you know, I also have business here, so I come back. But it was great. And my students, I've got a collection of pictures I'd be embarrassed if I knew how many pictures that I had, but I insert those into our lectures at Southeastern.
Yeah, that's perfect. I mean,
and students love that.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to get during my office hours like, hey, I'd like to go here. What do you know about this? Well, I've got 20 years of files for my students to be like, here's what I know.
Yeah.
And so my job doesn't end when they graduate Southeastern. I will help these students throughout their careers.
Yeah.
If they need it, if they're going on trips, I can be a permanent resource. And I think they appreciate that.
Oh, 100%.
I think this is an industry that a lot of people are fearful to get into. They would like it, but they're fearful because it's newer and they don't know how to get their start. So our Outfitter Wildlife Management program at Southeastern is perfect.
Yeah.
And we're seeing a lot of interest in it.
So I want to go back. You were talking about how you worked with the rhinoceroses, where you were like teaching people how to like anti-poach.
Yeah, it's anti-poaching efforts is basically you monitor your population so you know where your breeding males are at. Well, when you know where the breeding males are at, you know where the breeding females are at. And when you know where the females are at, you know where their young are at. And so you monitor their migrations, and then you basically ranger, and we're talking about millions of acres here. So you have to drive around and fly planes around daily just to make sure that people aren't going in to poach these animals illegally.
Yeah.
There are areas where you can still hunt large, charismatic megafauna, but the permitting is so intense that a lot of people you're talking about true wilderness here. There's not a lot of laws and there's not a lot of regulation. So it's very easy to sneak in. And in those African countries, it's all their defensive force. So it's part of their actual military forces. And then they get stationed out. So I went to right before it was December of 2019, I went into the Congo. I wanted to see mountain gorillas. Their defense force lives 3 months at a time with packs of mountain gorillas in the forest, in the jungles.
Wow.
That's their job. Make sure that nobody's setting snares. Snares are nasty business anyway, but when they get left, all kinds of accidental kills happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a full-time job for these people. So when companies like mine go in just to take pictures and videos and see these animals, it's money they never would have thought of seeing.
Yeah.
And it's really great internationally. And countries are realizing these rare and endangered species are worth 1,000 times more alive than they ever were hunted.
Oh yeah, because then you have, like you're saying, you have all these people coming in and wanting to do all these tours and see everything, and you can literally use that countless times.
Oh, countless times.
Yeah.
And once you get one under your belt, every one after that, not near as bad.
Oh yeah.
Pack a bag, get on an airplane.
Yeah, I'm sure that's something that you become addicted to too. I could see myself doing that.
It is slightly addictive because it's always like, oh, I've never been here. You hear about something or you see something, and it's a constant. Where am I going next?
Yeah,
and I like that. The older I've got, the more detailed my plans have gotten.
Yeah,
a 20-year-old me was a little bit more careless when, like, oh, I'll just pack my rucksack and go.
Yeah.
Got all my permitting, got my information. I'll take it with me. Now it's more of a sit down and memorize and make sure, double check, triple check, quadruple check.
Well, you're responsible for these people too.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. And my company's never had any accidents, anything more than a couple scratches from the jungle or anything. We've never had any accidents. We've never had any incidents of any kind.
Which is saying a lot when you're dealing with these big animals like this too.
It is, but it's not just international. A lot of people focus on that because they've seen pictures in books their whole life, but have never actually had the want to travel internationally. But right here in Southern Illinois, I've got a student from up in Mount Vernon area. He comes down to Southeastern. I have a freshwater fishing class in the spring. I held a fishing what's called a field exam down at Ferncliff Park outside of Goreville. He said, I've wanted to come here my whole life and never had anybody to go with, and it just kept getting put off. We spent the entire day down there with the IDNR doing a controlled burn and doing some erosion control and then a fishing exam. Great. This is great for students.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people haven't seen what's in their backyard just out of time gets away from you.
Yeah.
And so this program kind of has a way of getting you out because you have to. Like, we're going as a class. This is class today. We're meeting here.
Yeah. We're
going, and it's popular.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This was kind of the first year. So we did a lot of research, but a little bit of it was trial by error. But I think everything that we've done has been reasonably successful.
We retained, and that's a big thing in colleges, retaining students.
Yeah.
We retained all 12 from fall to spring, and they're eager to go into, if we get this 2-year degree, to go on. So, but what I was going to say is that we're not just restricted to students in Illinois. I mean, obviously, whoever picks up your podcast or broadcast, I mean, they can come from anywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, there is
anywhere.
housing in the area if they want to move. I mean, there's an apartment complex across this, road from the college. We don't own it, but it's privately owned. But a lot of our athletes live in that, or students coming in for specifically. There's rent houses in Harrisburg, El Dorado. So obviously coming in and moving in is not an issue. And we have good contacts through the college that we can hook them up with people in the community that have rent property. So
do you have a time frame of when this is going to be like a 2-year program, you think, or?
We're hopeful we're going to send it we have to do a lot of our own research and send the application into the higher learning. So we're hopeful, but students are begun to take classes anyway in the fall toward that.
Okay.
Yeah. We have other degrees that, if this would go through, that they could get their
still
2
use
years.
that. Yeah.
They can still get an associate's degree. It's just that we would like to have that, as the OWL, so that it's more, I guess, marketable for them.
Yeah, for sure.
To have that. But the skills that they're learning, like, it's just not come in, like Jordan said, you just don't come into class and sit through a lecture every day. I mean, you do get theory. You have to have some theory behind.
We have classroom time, but it's
more out on, and we have 190 acres, that the college sits on. So he has his own area. We have a trap shooting range now.
We do have a trap shooting range
for the team, but he also has an area just like archery and, outdoor rec. They have an area where they set up to do archery. Mm-hmm. I mean, he has an area out there he can go out and show students and set plots, and they do a lot of the outdoor work out there.
Yeah, we do. We go out about every day. We'll have theory and lecture, and then we'll go and put that into effect. And so I had a habitat and food plot class. Well, we had to plant some food plots and do habitat improvements. And I let students choose 3 projects a semester. And so this specific class, we built a nesting platform for hawks and eagles. We put in sunflowers plots for doves and other migratory birds. And then we also planted a 1/4 acre of Illinois prairie, which will come up as wildflowers here. This rain is going to help. It's raining today. That will be great for bees. Bees weren't doing so hot, but it'll also be pretty to look at.
Yeah.
And then we planted some Egyptian wheat milo as part of those plots, which will really see an uptick in the quail and rabbit population. And then we put up a owl nesting box and put a camera on that. So there'll be new natal owls will be starting to nest sometime around the middle of July. And so we've got a time-lapse camera on that.
Oh, cool.
Students get to see the fruits of their labors.
Yeah.
And so my new group coming in, these are college freshmen. They've never sat in a college class at all. So first day, hey, we've got to go set cameras today. So checked everybody in, made sure everybody had a mask. At the time was mask restrictions.
Yeah.
Said, all right, we got to walk out. So behind where the wildlife classroom is in my office, it's about a 2-minute walk.
Yeah, 2-minute
if
walk
2 minute
down to our outdoor rec area.
Yeah, down to the outdoor area, and we've got a lot of hardwoods out there and stuff like that. And well, that's great.
Yeah,
they had never, they're coming fresh out of high school. They had never done anything like that.
Oh
so,
yeah, probably made them a little like, what's going on here?
Yeah. But then we checked those cameras on Friday, and then I did with this group. We've got some breeding bobcats on campus, breeding population. And so you can tell different bobcats without a collar on them if you're not going to catch and tag them by their spots and their tail lengths. And so students got to actually do a population estimation on those cats. And I helped them with the equations and all. We figured that we have 3 breeding females, all 3 of which had cubs survive to year 1, and then at least 3 breeding males. At least. That's just what was captured on cameras.
Wow.
There's 12 students, so 12 cameras spaced out through our properties, and they love that. But the same cameras picked up the white-tailed deer, so we did a population estimation there too. So these are real-world things that it's not just wildlife managers that use this. This is any agency that deals with land or forestry has to do population estimations on the species that live there. So they got real-world training in the first couple of weeks.
I feel like this is something that should be offered in high school. I mean,
too.
I would learn so much. Like even when I hated school. I mean, but if I had to do something like this all the time, I'd be excited to do it because I'm excited just listening to it right now, so.
Yeah.
We're going to have 2 more young bucks. I just, they were coming across the road, College Road this morning, standing there when I was coming here, and they're so pretty. They just looked at me and they had their little, they're starting with their, whatever you call them.
Little antlers, velvet
antlers.
on them.
Yeah. And they just kind of looked at me like, what are you doing? And so they just ran across the road.
So, also speaking of animals on campus, in my wildlife business basics class, and then I have a hunting ed class and I have a guiding class, but I had all the same 12 students in these. And so we pulled data from different classes and did an ecological survey of campus. So we go out, do a certain amount of plants, and then we do a certain amount of different phylum. So we do certain amount of reptiles and amphibians, mammals, birds, things like that, and then make a list of all the species that live in our areas right there, just in our acreage on campus. And students were shocked that so many different species live in one area.
Oh, I bet.
And that ties into all the curriculum that's ecosystem and populations, and they're learning great science at such a early collegiate career.
Yeah.
So do we have anything on campus that we would be surprised that we have?
There's
other than snakes and frogs. And
quite a bit. We saw quite a few migratory species that you normally don't catch. Including like Eurasian doves that are invasive. Passing over, we saw quite a few blue-winged teal that landed. We've got a pond out in the woods. It's part of the wildlife management area. And I set some decoys, or students did, set some decoys. Well, we started pulling in blue-winged teal. And then a few weeks later, the green-winged teal started migrating. And then we started noticing a pretty good population of kingfishers, which you don't normally see outside of a true hardwood swamp.
Yeah.
But they were passing back and forth because there's
geese. I'm assuming.
There's definitely Canada geese. And then we see snow geese. We see wood ducks.
Oh, wow.
We see snipes out in the woods. We also, there's a certain amount of species that's hard to see, but you can hear.
Yeah.
And so one lecture in particular teaches about bird calls, animal communications. Well, when it was getting dark earlier, they get out of class at 4. We held them a little bit later, went out and listened. Well, we heard barred owls, great horned owls, and screeched owls in the first 5 minutes.
Wow.
And they had heard these things their whole life, but have never put a name or face to it.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're loving it.
You know what? You would be the perfect person for this question.
Okay.
I was actually going to bring this up on my show. I have another podcast myself, but so my mom sent me a picture a couple days ago. She took it about a month ago, and she lives literally right out by the college. Okay. And there was a footprint right by her back door in the mud. Let me pull it up here. And I'd sent it to Denton, and Denton had showed his dad and 5 or 6 other people, and nobody could really kind of get it down of what it was. So I feel like you would be the perfect person to look at this and see if you have any idea.
She's thinking it's a wild animal.
It's definitely a wild animal, but I don't know what it is. So there's 2 pictures you can. There's another print.
Okay.
So there are only 2 prints of that.
So when it comes to tracks in the mud, the very first thing you should remember, anything in family Canidae, the dogs, will have a claw showing.
Okay.
Gray fox, red fox, coyotes will have a claw showing. Anything that is in family Felidae, all the cats like bobcats or a domestic cat, will not have a claw showing.
Okay.
To distinguish coyotes from red fox or gray fox, you look at the angles of the arch pads But in this specific case, it's got an elongated, this is a hind track, very elongated with a opposable thumb.
Yeah.
There's only one species in Illinois that has that. The Virginia opossum, Didelphis virginianus.
Oh, so it's a possum.
Yeah.
Okay.
Common possum.
We thought, I was so worried because I could tell that the back weight of it here. Let me pull that. So that's the picture there. Anyways, we were nervous about it because it looked like it had 5 front toes.
Yeah.
And then the back pad, like it looked like it had a ball where it was putting weight. And I was like, this is standing on 2 legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's something going on here.
A lot of people have been confused by possums. They're a very unique species. Their evolution over time is they're actually marsupial. So if you've seen a possum this time of the year and it's carrying young on its back, well, it's got a pouch. If you ever actually can look at one up close, it's got a pouch underneath its belly. And marsupials will have little bitty tiny young, and then they crawl into the pouch and live for another month or 2. And then when they're big enough, they'll crawl on mom's back. So when you see pictures of like a joey kangaroo coming out of a pouch, very similar things here. But this is a New World possum. And so they've been separated by distance and time for millions and millions of years. So they're not at all closely related to like the kangaroos of Australia, but they are our only marsupial.
Oh, okay.
And so their feet and their dietary patterns have distinguished them very differently from
Do they live in trees?
Yeah, they can climb, and their tail is prehensile. So they use their tail. They will gather up, females will gather up sticks and leaves and can actually hold it with their tail and then walk with it, and then they build their nest. But they can definitely climb trees. They're not as good of a climber as, say, a raccoon or a squirrel, but they can definitely climb. And they're common.
They eat everything. Right?
They are. That's omnivory. They eat, including garbage.
Yeah.
Anybody that lives in White County knows if you keep your garbage cans out long enough without a rock on top of them, there's an army of raccoons and possums coming for your trash for sure. So,
well, you just really made me feel better because I thought my mom was being stalked by a small Sasquatch or something.
Yeah. A lot of people make that confusion. And while we're on that topic, a lot of people with the bobcat seasons, that population is doing so good. There's a hunting season now. People are worried about bobcats, but they are entirely cryptic. They're terrified of human noise. You won't find
I'm terrified of their noise too.
Yeah. Yeah. Bobcats do. When I worked at the DNR and they first started getting populated, bobcat cries do sound an awful lot like a crying child in the woods. Mm-hmm. And we got a lot of calls from people worried about, has a child fallen in a well?
Yeah. I used to hear them all the time when I'd go squirrel hunting with my grandpa and stuff. And it is
kind of creepy. It's usually a vixen call, what's called a vixen call. And also red foxes, when they cry and laugh, it kind of sounds like a child laughing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, when you're out in the dark woods and camping and you hear these things for the first time, a lot of people have heard them their whole life, but never really knew what it was. And that's another thing students are learning, like, oh, wow. I've lived here for 20 years and have never known that's actually what it was.
Yeah.
And so I try to add in all kinds of things to our curriculum.
Yeah.
We didn't know how much we needed.
Can people just sit in on this class? Because I would love to just come in.
We could have a visitor, I think.
Yeah. That would be great.
You have to check in with, our office. And
I usually, there's some paperwork that I turn into academic affairs. But we can have visitors.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I might have to look into that, actually, because I am super interested now.
And people can audit these classes. That means that they're not really getting a grade. They still have to register and pay the fees.
Yeah.
But they can audit, which means they can sit in and do everything that his class is doing. They just don't have to take tests or projects. They're just basically there to listen and
to listen,
and to go to field trips and that type of thing. So there's always the opportunity to audit if you wanted to do something like that. But that means that you're actually registered in the class. If you're just interested in coming a day or two to listen to maybe a specific lecture, that's
Yeah,
not
let
an
me know.
issue.
Yeah, that'd be
I'd
awesome.
be happy
honestly.
to have visitors.
Yeah.
And
Now
some
we
of
did
my
during COVID, but since
Yeah,
we kind of
COVID-
relaxed some of the
COVID cut some of that
restrictions,
out.
Yeah, we can do that. And I'm sure he's brought in guest speakers.
I have. I
and-
try to bring in as much as I can. COVID dampened that a little bit, but with my group of students, they're fully prepared to be outside. So some of my lectures, I told them, bring a camp chair today, and we printed out little packets for them. We sat out in our wildlife area, and that's where they had their lecture for the day.
Wow.
We do have an outdoor classroom.
Yeah,
in
we
our
do.
area.
Oh, really?
It's got tables and,
Oh, that's
There's a
cool.
and
restroom
electricity and
facilities,
everything.
yeah.
We had everything that we needed.
Wow.
So if anything, it
If
worked
you've
out
never
well.
been there, I mean, you need to, if you're from that area, you
I
need to go
haven't-
back there because
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have built it up. We have an indoor archery range building now.
Oh, wow.
We
Really?
have an
Yes.
outdoor classroom.
I
We
went to
have-
SIC when I first graduated
Yeah.
high school, but that was back in 2010.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
I mean,
it's
I haven't
grown a lot.
been in
And then-
11
Yeah.
years now.
We have fire training. When we had a lot of the coal mines, they would come and do fire training.
Yeah, there's
And
one
so
tomorrow.
We still do that.
Yeah.
We have a burn tunnel. They simulate fire underground.
Oh, wow.
So they learn how to put it out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's great and it's fun to watch.
Yeah. Then we have outdoor 3D archery range, which they put up what do you call them?
They're 3D targets, so they
Targets,
kind of
yeah.
look like those game species.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it might be a
um,
white-tailed deer or a bighorn sheep or an elk or a moose.
Right.
And our
So
archery coach, Ricky Sauls, he keeps that up to date and clean. So that is open to where people can come and register to shoot, but it's got a set of hours.
Yeah.
Same with the trap. We have a gun range now that we have training. A lot of the police departments come out and train, or we have gun safety classes
Yeah.
where people learn, to get permits, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Then we have built a trap range.
Yeah.
Jordan is a coach of our trap team. How many are on your team now?
There's 9 right now,
okay.
but then I should have a new batch of incoming freshmen coming in, and we'll see about those numbers. Some students are coming in. I've had a lot of interest in Minnesota area, and then I've got one that should be coming from South Dakota, but getting the paperwork during times of COVID and things of tours, but that's changing rapidly this summer. So
Yeah.
that should work well. And then I should have one from South Carolina coming in. So
wow.
we do want listeners to know this is regional.
Yeah.
This is
And they
all
come
over.
in and they can do the program, or sometimes we have on our competitive teams, they may be coming in to do a sport or do a competitive team, but they may be in another program.
Yeah,
Maybe they're
and all
going to
over
get
campus.
they want to be a biologist, so they're going to go on and go to the bachelor's, or
Yeah.
they're welding. They want to be a welding student, so
Yeah.
they may be in taking go in his trap shooting team, but
Yep.
be a welder.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I've got a pretty diverse group. They're
So it
they're all
just
over campus.
depends, but when he recruits, for his program, he also recruits for the
Yeah,
team.
for trap
So-
all
Or
over.
if he also recruits for some of our other programs, like if he's out and they have questions about archery, he'll put him in touch with Ricky,
Yeah.
who's our archery coach.
Yeah.
Or if they want to be a diesel tech, he'll put him in touch
Yeah.
with our instructors. So
And we do want to stress
Yeah.
that to listeners. If anybody wants a tour of campus or needs a contact, like, hey, my son or daughter or grandson or daughter needs introduced to registration department or another coach on campus or an instructor of a specific course, or just wants to come and check the place out and walk around, I'll give a full tour. I will personally help students sit down and do scholarship applications. We've got so many scholarships available. And I will personally help parents or students, grandparents, whoever, just send me an email. All of our emails on campus are our first name dot last name at sic.edu. Those could all be found in the directory. Mine's jordan.hammersley at sic.edu. Dr. Weiss's is karen.weiss at sic.edu.
Yep.
And so if anybody at all got any questions, I am on campus every day this summer, minus a few trap shooting tournament days where I'm out of town. I am there all summer, every day. We're closed on Fridays during energy savings during summer. But other than that, I will give tours. I will introduce to other instructors, forward emails, help with scholarship applications, help with FAFSA, although FAFSA
financial aid.
financial aid system has gotten easier since I've done it.
Yeah.
So that's not the problem that it was 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I will help with all that.
Yeah.
I will happily help with all that.
Yeah.
right.
Any program, diesel tech, nursing,
we have, and I'm just going to plug, we have one of the lowest tuition rates in the state.
Yeah.
It's $106 per credit hour. Now that sounds kind of, but when you compare that to
that's cheap.
Universities are like a 300.
Yeah.
But we do have fees. I mean, we obviously have some course fees and we have some universal fees, but still it's the going rate. I mean, it's like, less than 130.
That's pennies compared to like some places.
Yeah.
Oh, pennies
and
compared to
there's
some
probably,
people.
I would say 70% of our students have some form of assistance.
Yeah.
They're either getting financial aid or they're on scholarship.
Mm-hmm.
We have divisional scholarships. We have sport, competitive team scholarships. So that means that they may get their tuition and fees paid for. They still have to have their housing.
Yeah.
But at least there's a portion of it paid that they don't have to.
Yeah, it's a
pay
great
to
deal.
be a full-time student.
Yeah, we've got some brand new teams too. So they've started volleyball,
esports,
which is video game
golf.
playing, golf.
Yeah,
We've got a lot of brand new scholarships. We had a lot before, but now there's some even newer ones that
we have
really
an
taken
archery
off.
Team.
Archery team's got a lot of scholarships. There's
bowling.
bowling.
No, we have bowling. Of course, Doug caught him with Muddy.
Yeah.
He is the team captain or the team coach, and he recruits a lot outside of our district too. Because we don't necessarily have high schools that have bowling teams.
Yeah.
So he recruits. I think Harrisburg still has a bowling team.
I think so, and I think
they do.
Massac does.
Massac, and so he
But
recruits.
Doug's got a lot of students. He's got a lot on his bowling team.
Yeah.
We've got a new theatrical competition team. Of course, our internationally ranked forensic team is still.
Yeah, they're still recruiting.
Yeah, they're still.
Yeah, they won
actively,
international this year.
Yeah,
Really?
they did
Yeah.
against big schools.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
Like
the
big
state,
university schools.
Yeah.
So do you
that's
guys
saying a lot?
The Outfitters? Do you guys have like I know that like Ricky came in and talked with the archery team and stuff, and they had their own Facebook. Do you guys have like a Facebook that you have?
Yeah, we do. We have a Outfitter Wildlife Management Facebook, and we also have a Facebook for the SIC Clay Breakers, which is our trap shooting team.
Okay.
And then our marketing executive, Miss Angie Wilson, helped us build an Instagram page for the Outfitter program.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so I kind of have amassed some pictures.
Yeah.
All of them are socially distant, so that cut down on the amount that we could take and do. But I do have a lot. So this summer will be things posted and plans and little pieces of our curriculum. That way students know what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And it's been pretty good. I try to keep it up to date the best that I can.
Cool.
But
yeah,
then
we'll put
as
those
we
on
get
here.
into later on this summer, and then especially once the semester starts, I try to every day post what those students have done.
Yeah.
And so that's just a way, and it kind of helps parents kind of track what's going on, I believe.
Yeah, for sure.
Kind of what the students are learning in class, and I think that helps. I would want to know if it was my child. So
yeah. Well, guys, I think we really covered some awesome stuff here today.
hopefully I get some emails. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No, yeah.
We have a lot of students from up here in Carmi.
Yeah.
Quite a few. So
yeah, thank
if
you guys for
anybody at
coming
all,
in.
if any listeners at all want to send me an email, please do. I will answer any questions or forward them anywhere, absolutely anywhere that they need to go on campus. I can be a
resource.
Resource for anybody, any questions.
Yeah. He's done a lot of that this last year.
I try to, but we're really appreciative of the opportunity to come and talk.
No, yeah. I'm kind of starstruck right now, honestly, from all the stories that you've told.
Good.
And stuff.
Well,
It's really
registration's
cool.
open.
Well, I don't know if I need more student loan debt, But all right. Well, thank you guys for coming
Thank
in.
you.
And this is Skylar, and thanks for watching CarmiCast.